Hey friends, hope you're doing well. I wanted to pop on and make a video here because it occurred to me that a while back I made a series on the Yamas and the Niyamas, these kind of 10 commandments of yoga. And it occurred to me that for whatever reason, I never recorded the final video in that series. And it's such an important piece of that puzzle. And so this final niyama is called Ishvara Pranidhana. Ishvara Pranidhana. And this loosely translates to this idea of surrendering the fruits of whatever your efforts are to a higher power, whatever that means for you. We might say giving it up to God, right? Now, it doesn't matter what your religious beliefs are, what you want to call that thing. You could call it God, you could call it spirit, source, mother, spinning the cosmic roulette wheel, fate, whatever you want to call it, doesn't matter. It's more of this feeling, right? This feeling of doing the best that you can do and then letting go. Letting go of it because you can't do anything else at that point. It can take a lot of weight off of our shoulders when we do that, right? Things like worry. When we worry about something, we get anxiety. It weighs on us unnecessarily. We've done everything we can possibly do, and then worrying about it is not going to fix anything. It's not going to help anything. I realize this is easier said than done, but it takes small incremental steps. It takes repetition of starting to consciously change our mindset over and over again and catching ourselves when we get into something like worry or pride at the other end of that spectrum. And hey, I'm a father, right? I feel pride all the time for my son or for things that I do as well. But that can lead to an overinflated ego, right? And if we're really attached to this accomplishment that we've done, if we're trying to own the fruit of our labor, we're inevitably going to be disappointed, right? We're going to try to protect that thing. We live in time, in this universe where time and everything, goes away and is in flux and changes. So inevitably, the highs are going to become lows, the lows will become high. If you do your best and then you give it up to some higher power, it takes that weight off of our shoulders. Now listen, this concept, I believe, has been massively misunderstood and I would argue abused as well throughout the ages. So Ishvara Pranidhana is not an excuse to be lazy, right? It's not, you can't sit around and say, if God wants it to be, it will be. I don't have to do anything. I'm just gonna hang out here and, play video games, and if God wants me to be successful, I'll be successful. It doesn't work that way, right? We have a responsibility. We have to put the effort forth, okay? Nobody's gonna do it for us. So it is definitely not that. It is also not an excuse to make irresponsible decisions. You can't jump off of a building and be like, if God wants me to live, I'll live. It's in God's hands. You're probably gonna die or you're gonna break some bones. It's not gonna be good, okay? That's a bad idea. Don't treat it that way. And finally, it doesn't mean that you're helpless. It doesn't mean that, you have no control over your own fate, that somebody else is moving you around like a little piece on a chessboard. Doesn't mean that. You have control, right? You get to make choices every day. You can take actions every day. If there's some goal that you have, you can work towards that goal. You can do your very, very best. But at a certain point, when you've done all that you can, you got to let it go. You got to give it up to whatever you want to call it, God, spirit, fate. You've done all you can. Now it's time to release that. So Ishvara really, it asks us to release these things like disappointment and worry and pride and an overinflated ego and just to do our very best and then let go of the fruits of that labor. Because really, it's very likely that whatever happens to us is part of a much bigger picture that we can't possibly comprehend. And everything that's ever happened to us in our entire lives has brought us all to this point we are now. And we would not be here being who we are without everything that's happened to us. All of the ups, all of the downs, all of the challenges, all of the celebrations have made us who we are today. And we get to choose how we're going to shape our tomorrow. But we can only do so much, and then we have to give up, release the fruits of those efforts and just kind of leave it to a higher power. And this is the idea of Ishvara Pranidhana, okay? And it's a deep concept, much deeper than a 5-6 minute YouTube video can cover. But this is the basics, okay? So this is scratching the surface and some tangible nuggets that we can take with us throughout our day when we get caught up in worry, when we get caught up in being super overinflated in our ego. It doesn't mean don't feel good about yourself. It just means this too shall pass. The good will come, the bad will come, they all will pass, right? So we can think about being part of a much larger picture and give up the fruits of our labor to a higher power. This is Ishvara Pranidhana. So look, if that inspires some questions, if that inspires some conversation that you'd like to have, feel free to reach out. I love chatting with you guys. You can reach out in comments or send me a direct message or whatever. But I hope that can be helpful for some of you. Always good to see your faces. Talk soon.